You've got a great piece out talking about how the job market is improving, but perhaps not for everybody. How significant is that?
Well, and this is something that Ben Bernanke was talking about extensively this morning, which is that long-term unemployment remains a very serious concern. We've seen a little bit of improvement there, but the improvement is not as rapid for the long-term unemployed as it is for the rest of the population, and especially for the longest-term unemployed. And the concern here is that even if most of those people lost their jobs because of the recession, because of this shortfall in demand that you were talking about a moment ago, that over time that kind of hardens into a structural problem and those people become effectively unemployable, and you get this whole group of people that are kind of outside the main job market.
And it's not really only because perhaps their skills are lessening and they're not keeping up on the latest, but that employers look at somebody perhaps and say, well, they've been out for a while, there must be a reason, and sort of there's sort of the stigma there for the long-term employee.
So it's interesting. We've known for quite a while, based on economic research, that the longer you're unemployed, the harder it is to find a job, the longer it takes to find a job. Nobody is completely certain why that is. There's this skills erosion is probably part of it. The stigma effect is almost certainly part of it. Some people just become so-called detached from the labor force. They just stop looking as hard. There's some evidence that people, as time goes on, spend fewer hours looking for work, less time looking, and they just kind of drift away from the labor force.
Yeah, you used a great word in the column today. I'm going to mispronounce it, I'm sure, but hysteresis?
You're better than I was going to tackle that one. Hysteresis?
Hysteresis.
Hysteresis.
It's actually it's a term that comes from chemistry, from magnetism. That's about the extent that I understand of it, so we won't go any further there.
Okay.
But what it means is that the past can affect the present, or that the present can affect the future. And if you think about it, it's not that unexpected a concept, but in economics we think about hitting a recession and then bouncing back and getting back to where we were, getting back to the path that we were on before. And the concern here is that because of these people who get left out of the job market, that we're actually a weaker economy coming out of this than we were going in. And on some level, we never really make it back to the point that we were in before. Yeah. Europe in the 1980s is kind of the prime example of this long, prolonged period of long-term unemployment, a group of people who were kind of left out of the labor market. You compare that to the U.S., we really haven't had that problem here in the past. We had high unemployment, but it would come back down quickly, we'd get back onto our old path. And here we're seeing something that looks a little bit more like that European situation.
And that has implications, of course, for public policy. We saw it, I think part of that, long-term unemployment problem in Europe, people associate with a broader and deeper safety net that's available in the U.S. We had a debate about unemployment benefits, 99 weeks, does it go beyond 99 weeks? So I think if you've got some significant number of people who unfortunately fall into this category, that'll be debate here as well. How do you take care of those people who have been out of work for several years?
Well, one of the arguments for why the U.S. has avoided this problem in the past is that we have this very flexible labor market. Companies are freer to hire because they know that they're freer to fire. People are more likely to look hard for work because there isn't a strong social safety net in the same way. There's some reason to think that the U.S., even though we're still very flexible in that sense, is on some level operating as if it's a less flexible labor market, and that we're seeing some of the problems that you associate with a Europe in the 80s. Right.